Hi, Matt. Today,
Kathleen.
hi. I just want to ask you, Matt, we're talking about the technology that I'm using in the studio, and I got to know Matt as he helped me work with a software system called Airtable, and it's been a really great resource for the studio. But I just thought I'd ask Matt, who is a developer. He develops no-code solution, so he's a technologist. And I just thought I'd ask you, Matt, a little bit about Airtable and how it works, and a little bit about how you think it's been really useful and helpful for my studio practice.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Airtable, technically it's a relational database, but it has a very friendly face to it. So it kind of just looks like a spreadsheet when you start with it. So most people feel familiar with it. Uh, what it allows people to do is to basically build tools, like build digital solutions for their business that actually fits how they work and what they need. So it's incredibly flexible. It's quite easy and intuitive to build with, and it's that really helpful for people. Often, people who've got a bunch of Excel spreadsheets that they're a bit sick of using, that are all disconnected, or they're trying to use some kind of software that's out of the box that doesn't really fit how they work and things like that. So Airtable allows you to build these custom solutions that um I like to say they fit like grandma's knitting. Like they start to feel they work and take the shape of the way that you work. So they're great for small business. And yeah, and it's been really good, yeah, working with you on the what we've developed for for
Yeah,
you.
I can tell you, Matt, before this, what would happen is I have my shelves were just groaning with the weight of photocopies of stuff that perhaps had long since was past its use by date. And so to find material for singers, I would spend a lot of time sort of pouring through that, trying to work out whether that song suited their level of progress, their level of development, and then do some photocopying and so it took a while to get all that material ready to have it there, and then you would find that the photocopies would build up and it just became a little unwieldy and rather messy. Uh, and
I remember when we first met and we are talking about this, because it was really obvious that something that you, because this is really about value, right? For your singers, it's bringing value to them, and it's also saving you some time, what we've done. But it's I remember it was really obvious that that part of the value you bring is just the sheer volume of the library of materials that you have, and being able to get those into your singers' hands was like a really obvious place that you had this combination of incredible kind of mental library of everything that's out there, and who, what's for beginners and what's this and what's that. You could do that in your mind, but then actually going to your bookshelf and sorting through and finding all of that. And I know kind of also, you'd often talk about at the end of your lesson, having to kind of scramble a little bit to photocopy some things and get them in their hands.
yes.
Is that what it was? That was my memory, but I remember thinking, yeah, anyway.
Yes, it is, and it was like that. But with Airtable, I've been able to have a lot of that material digitized. It's digitized in categories, which helps me. So if I do have an adult beginner, for example, then I can go to that resource. I can go to the Airtable and I can look it up and I can say, okay, that's perhaps that person is really interested in film music. Here's some material that they might be interested in, or maybe they've come across an artist that they really particularly like. Could be an artist from the 50s or an artist from the 80s, and I've got some material by that person, but I don't actually know it. Sometimes I forget where it is in folders and that sort of thing. But with Airtable, the way we've categorized it and used the software means that I can look it up. I can look up the degree of difficulty. I can look up the genre that it's under, and
Let's.
I
Why don't I
can,
share my screen? I'll share the screen so you can kind of talk
yeah,
about it
yeah.
as we go if you want.
Yeah, so it's
All
really
right.
benefited my students in that way. So, and I've put grades there. Yeah, we've put some AMEB grades there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way we'd work that. But you can see and the other thing that is really handy is I have a number of these songs with backing recordings, and the backing recordings often have two recordings. One's called a study recording, which is just the melody line, which really helps the singer learn, and the other recording is a performance recording, is the which is the accompaniment, and so the singer can really learn how to sing their song with all that. And sure, you can often find you can often find it if you've got time to go through YouTube and find something that works. But this is just a quicker, more efficient way for me to help singers and bring them to, um, you know, really get them to enjoy a whole range of songs and get them learning new stuff much quicker. And the other thing that is really helpful, if you could go to the Vocalese one.
Sure.
So I have a lot of Vocalese, which are, the students do a lot of these, and they're all, as you can see, the composers are listed, but also we do have a category of where the ownership of those is, where the copyright of those is, so that it's just not something that I'm chucking just using willy nilly. That I actually own this material and can use it, within the confines of proper copyright. But these are really helpful because singers can progress with these. I've got a lot of them with audio, and, and they can really develop their own singing. But the other one that I've done, Matt, if you could just go to the exercises
Yep.
tab. So I developed lots and lots and lots of exercises. And these are to help students. The one that's open there, you can see, I've used some some uh, some people that I know, some ones that I know, and and but I've also used what's called Loom. So these. So let's pop out of that for the minute so that we don't put people's email addresses up for too long, Matt.
Oh, sorry. We can scrub over that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I can. These Loom videos are really incredibly helpful because they're like a little lesson that I can share with the singer, and they can get more out of what they're working on. They can get more tips. They can come to a better understanding of, why major and minor thirds are really important to learn, why articulation. But if you scroll down, you'll find there's some more that are advanced. For example, if you keep going, I use some that I've developed myself, or that I use
You
in,
are.
yeah. So these are quite advanced exercises that I've developed, and they really help those singers who are at a higher level and really want to test their skill set, and learn to really develop themselves a lot further with their singing.
So how do
So
you share? How do you share from there now? How do you, like, with these resources before you were photocopying things like that, and students had to take home some sheets of paper? What are you doing now?
So the other useful thing about Airtable is that I keep records. So I've always kept records, but these were handwritten. They sometimes said something, they sometimes said nothing. And so that would be, often I sort of get just moments before a lesson and go, oh, what is it I'm actually, where is that person? What are those notes of mine mean? But once I've got it into Airtable, I can actually keep a record of what the singer is doing, where they're progressing, whether they're using some more advanced exercises or not, whether they're still on a sort of a basic level, and and that gives me a real record of where they're going and what they're doing. So we start out with, so for example, when a person first comes in, um, I might just make a basic record of what they're looking for, what they want to do, their aims, where their singing is at this point in time, what some of the issues are that they need to work on, whether that's breath control or articulation. And I start to build up a record of where those people are going. And so over time, some of my singers who've I've been working with for some time are really at an advanced level now, and can really dive deeply into some of
Mm.
these advanced exercises, advanced vocalises, and advanced music, so, or songs, and that really builds a record of where those people are, if there's any underlying issues that are still just bothering that person. Often it's registers, getting through registers, is an issue, and it builds up a record of where they are, and what we need to focus on. So yeah, so and then also the system keeps a record of what I've sent to those people. So I've got a record of things that I might have sent to them as a suggestion, but they've actually not done. So that
Yeah.
they maybe they didn't like it, but maybe it's something they just are waiting to work on. So yeah, it's a system that really can move, can benefit my singers in that they're getting material that suits them, that is well graded for them or well assigned for them, and then building their abilities, building their skill set as they move through that. So yeah, it's been a fabulous thing to work on, Matt, and having both Airtable and Loom.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
really glad you've started, when you started, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by making video content. Loom just, it seems to make it quite easy. And it's just a brilliant way for you to share, the particulars of an exercise or something like that. I love it.
yeah,
I'm so glad you wanted to take it up. And yeah, and it's
yeah,
fantastic. You can then just share those videos directly to your students so easily.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so yeah, learning, there's lots more to technology in the student in the beg your pardon, technology in the studio, but those two things have really I think made a big difference to singers. That I'll get a little note, just a quick note back saying, oh, thanks for these are really great, I'm going to keep these on my phone. So they've got them when they're you know traveling on their little
Yeah.
break up at Port Stephens or something, and they can use them when they're up there. So it's been a really really great benefit for people. Yeah,
And you've
it's great.
explored as well. You've brought up with me a couple of times now the potential of developing this library at some point into some kind of that you share that through an app, like a phone application, a phone app or something like that, which is something, Airtable gets used for
Yeah,
as the back end of a phone application. It
yeah.
happens. So yeah, I know it's sparked your imagination to do, work out how to make it
Yeah.
even better. But yeah, at the
Look,
moment, it's
it's
great.
something I'd love to do, is to have a little. I think having an application like that where you can just go in and check, okay, that's how that exercise goes, that's what the aim of that exercise is, and little tips like, you know just look out for what your tongue is doing. Those sorts of little things can really help people focus on what the skill is and what it is you're developing. And so having an app like that, it does spark my imagination, and I'd like to work on it. It's sort of something that I'll do in the near future, I hope.
Yeah, some down the track, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's it's you know, for somebody who didn't grow up with a lot of this, with a lot of digitization, it was pretty much all hard copy, and you just accumulated hard copies. It's been a real learning curve for me, as much as it has been a real benefit to my singers and how they've used it, and
Mm.
you know,
I
used
know
it.
often, when we've met, you often talk about, practice making a big difference to your students,
Mm,
and also your sense of not responsibility, but wanting to make it easy for them to practice. I think this probably has helped with that too, because there's not as much resistance. Like,
yeah,
where did I put those sheets? Now it's like, oh, okay, it's on my
yeah.
phone, it's on my
I can
computer.
open up my phone
I
and
can,
have
yeah,
it.
I can
Yeah,
find it in the next couple of minutes
yeah.
and get started. Yeah.
And many of my singers now use a small iPad, a large iPad, or just they'll say, "Oh, I'll just get this up on my phone. I know it's small, but I can read it from that size, and that will, I can use it. I can put my phone on the piano, or if they've got a keyboard, or I can just, use it in my wherever I'm practicing." And yeah, like you say, there isn't quite um, the resistance, or the, that sort of step forward. You can just go and have a look at or listen to something, and that's that little bit of practice. So it helps, I think, in that way, because it is a craft that you do have to practice. It's a little bit like technology. You do have to actually work at it and put it into practice, and that way it gets easier and better, and you get to know and understand how your singing works, how your voice works, and you can sense the progress that you're making, and that's ultimately what I want. So yeah,
Okay.
I think that's probably it, Matt. Thanks for that. So shall we finish and say see you next time?
Yep. See you next time. Thanks.
Bye.